Welcome everybody back to BeamNG.drive. I know it's been a while since the previous episode, but I've been working on different videos and just trying new things out. So yeah, today we're going to be seeing what's safer to crash into, a fully erect bollard like this, or only a partially erect bollard like this. Now granted, common sense would dictate that the only partially erect bollard would be the safer object to crash into, because obviously less mass equals less to slow you down when crashing. But there's less protection lower down on most cars, so more of that is going to be transferred further down the vehicle and then into the driver. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which is the safer one to crash into, but we do have several different vehicles to try out. So the blue ones are going to be crashing into the fully erect bollard, and then the red ones will be crashing into the partially erect one, and we have all of the same vehicles. And all of these vehicles are bone stock. They're the most basic versions of each car. Basic engine, no rollover protection or anything like that. So yeah, let's see what the Corvette is going to do first. Like I said, I'm going to crash these all in at 70 miles an hour, or around that. Obviously it can never be perfect with the speed, especially since I'm only dealing with a keyboard. 70. I've made it so we have a long enough run up to get up to speed and maintain that speed. There's nothing worse than you know, not having the room. Oh well, that's a heavy impact there, but the passenger car compartment has stayed in relatively intact. The steering wheel has moved forward, the seat has moved forward, but on the whole that has sustained minimal amounts of damage. Right, we're just going to pull this car out so we can you know, compare each car as we go along. Just a bit wedged in there. It's the difficulty of these cars, sometimes you get wedged in with other elements. There we go. Certainly not going to be a car that's going to be driving anymore, but it is still a done the job of protecting the driver and the passengers therein. So let's just scoot this out of the way. No. Just trying to create as little damage as possible to the car, so it's in perfect enough state to at least be able to compare against what's going to happen to the other vehicle. Right, let's see what happens when we hitting only a partially erect bollard. Now, like I said, there's less protection lower down, but we are hitting far less in the way of mass. A little bit faster, but it's, as you can see, it's blinking, so it's no real harm. Oh, sorry, I didn't slow it down much there. But yeah, far less damage to the compartment as its own shape, because the roof on the blue car there did deform a lot more, but there's a great deal of damage to the under end of the car, as you can see. But a big concern is the steering wheel, which, as you can see, has shifted some way up to where the driver's head would have been had they been thrown forward, which, yeah, obviously isn't ideal. Let's just compare. Scoot along. So yeah, a lot less in the way of bodywork damage. As you can see, the bonnet has raised up, the doors are folded out, the roof has gone up, whereas that really hasn't happened here. But in terms of steering wheel damage, which is crucial to protecting the driver with the airbag and whatever else would be there, yeah, as you can see, that stayed in relatively the same place, whereas here yeah, it's raised up, it's really close to the windscreen itself, and yeah, that is not good protection for the driver. So yeah, it might look less damaging here, but in terms of internal damage, steering wheel, all that lot, and no doubt the pedals as well if that had been simulated, but I don't think they actually simulate the pedals all that much on this game, unfortunately. Yeah, the blue cover on the whole I think would have been the safer barrier to crash into, and you also got to remember that the more bodywork that is crumpled up, the less energy goes into the driver, whereas here there's very little bodywork that has been deformed, so a lot of the G-forces would have gone into the driver over this. So yeah, in terms of this car, I'd go with the blue one, but it'd be nice to know what other people think, because yeah, this isn't a foregone conclusion, this is only a game after all. Right, let's see what the much larger, much heavier and much longer Grand Marshal can do. Now obviously there's far more bodywork with this car, so you'd expect this one to also survive the fully erect Bollard better. And yeah, I think we'll do that again. Actually, I got distracted by the speedo not holding its mile per hours. I was trying to get it down to 70, but it wouldn't move. 71 will do. If it's going to do 71, 71 is what it's going to do. Can hardly help it. It is blipping. No driver's ever perfectly on the speed limit. There's always a mile an hour or two variation above or below. Ooh. Again, that is a heavy impact, a lot of damage up front. The roof has also deformed, and the steering wheel has actually jotted off to the right there. Again, that would not be very nice if the airbag were to fling out of your way if you were crashing into it. We're going to actually have to lower the bollard here to do apologise, to actually get this car out. Whoopsie. Ignore the roof damage. I am a little bit clumsy on this game. Yeah, that's quite a severe amount of damage. As you can see, the engine has taken the brute force of that. I think, yeah, as you can see, the transmission tunnel has deformed as well. As you can see from underneath, the engine has been forced back, and then the floor panel has been raised up as a result, but overall that's done reasonably well. Let's just raise it back up again. Fortunately it's very slow, but these are in real life, so it's, I guess, a little bit realistic. Right. Let's see what the partially erect Bollard does to this. Now, considering the amount of damage that happened to the floor pan of the other car when coming into direct contact with the entirety of the Bollard, I am not sure this will survive very well with this. Nope. I accidentally jutted off to the left by accident there. Keyboard is not the best to use on this, but it's also the best to use in terms of doing this kind of thing where you want to slow down quickly. I'm just really rather useless at using keyboards, far more used to the controllers. Oh dearie me. That's bent everything. The car has turned into a banana. drive shaft's broken, engine's broken, the bodywork is coming away from the frame because it is a body-on-frame design, like a lot of older American cars are. And yeah, the steering wheel has again gone upwards. The seat has crumpled. That would hurt your spine, your hips, your legs. Yeah, that is pretty devastating. I really wouldn't want to be in that, to be honest. Again, I'd rather be in the vehicle that impacted the entirety of the Bollard there. Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, the damage is catastrophic in comparison to the blue Grand Marshal there. You can see the passenger compartment is relatively intact on this, but here, even though it looks intact, it's what's happened underneath that has really would really harm the driver overall, really there. Yeah, that is not nice. It's looking like common sense is not working in our favour. Because like I said, common sense dictates that maybe hitting less of a mass is ideal, but obviously a lot of lack of protection, like I said, on a car is higher up, which is why SUVs that crash into lower vehicles tend to come off better, because they have their protection higher up, whereas a smaller vehicle would have their protection lower down. I know we hit that slightly to one side, but still, that's a pretty devastating crash, to be honest. The roof has come up, the doors popped open, but again, this being a different kind of vehicle, it's not got an engine up front, so yeah, the amount of damage there is probably worse than it would be if there was an engine there and not an engine here, because obviously there's less mass here, but as soon as the vehicle starts to slow down, the mass here comes into play and that pushes further against the bodywork. So yeah, that's why I picked this car, because it's an interesting design in comparison to the other vehicles. It is mid-engined, and yeah, as a result, there's going to be different crash dynamics. Again, I know I hit it on the one side, but I don't think it would make much of a difference, to be honest. It just means most of the roof on the other side would have come up as well. Right, let's see what the red version does. Here we go. Now that's interesting. This has fared better. I can only presume because it's lower, and therefore more of the bodywork is still low to the ground, where it's hitting most of here, whereas obviously the Grand Marshal and the Corvette have more of their bodywork higher up. So if you're in a supercar, at least this is the better option, because yeah, it's certainly come off a lot better. In fact, if we start the engine up again, obviously being a rear-engined and mid-engined and rear-wheel drive, this is still going to work. Yeah, this is definitely the better one to go for. The roof has come up less. There's less bodywork deformation. In terms of the steering wheel and the seat, is still relatively in one position, whereas the steering wheel here has slightly moved to the right, while the seat has also moved as well. So yeah, definitely go for the lower Bollard if you're in a low-slung sports car, that's for sure. Right, now the biggie, what happens with an off-roader? Now these obviously again have most of their bodywork up high, with high ground clearance as well. and they also have weight on their side as well. It's going to be fairly predictable in terms of what it's going to do here. Yep, that's to be expected. Most of the well, I was going to say most of the bodywork hasn't intruded, but it actually has. The steering wheel has completely come down onto the lower legs and, well, the upper legs and the chest of the driver. That's far more severe than I was expecting, to be honest. If you look at it like this, you wouldn't expect there to be much injuries to the people inside, but the closer you look at it, yeah, that's pretty devastating, to be honest. Well, it can only get better for the lower Bollard crash with the other car, surely. Now the bigger difference with off-roaders compared to, you know, a hatchback or a sports car is higher ride height, higher centre of gravity. So if the chassis catches on the bottom of the Bollard, then we could be in for a rollover. Oh, need to slow down. Or it could just ride right over it and lose its entire rear axle. Well, it's certainly damaging. It'd be a write-off, that's for sure. But you'd be better off hitting the lower Bollard, for sure. Because, yeah, no damage whatsoever interior-wise. In fact, there's barely any bodywork damage at all, only the bumper's been slightly deformed. But yeah, it would be a write-off. But then again, so would the other SUV with the higher Bollard. So yeah, it all comes down to the type of vehicle, really. If you run a medium-sized ride height vehicle like a hatchback or a saloon car, then yeah, you're better off hitting the fully erect Bollard, because yeah, there's less damage that's going to happen interior-wise. But if you're in a sports car that's low to the ground or a high-riding off-roader, then you're better off with the lower Bollard, like this. So yeah, that's surprising, to be honest. I, in all honesty, was expecting the higher Bollard to prove the best for all vehicles, but the fact that it's an even split between the two is yeah, even more interesting, to be honest, and yeah, quite surprising. But yeah, nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.